So I had 3 very solid ideas, I think, for Vampire Campfire spin-offs. The first one is called Bravo by Bayo, and it's where I and a prominent figure in the field of music watch an episode of Bravo TV. If they know nothing about Bravo, I think that's even better.
Vampire Campfire, episode 4. Let's do this. It's been too long.
Ezra, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a message for any of the Vampire Campfire haters who said there'd never be a 4th episode of this podcast?
We just proved all y'all wrong. People who thought, oh, it's just about the pre-album. Oh my God, were you wrong?
It's all about tension and release.
Mm.
You know, the tension's been building. When's the curtain going to drop? When are the boys going to get back around the campfire? And here we are, somewhere in the greater Los Angeles area, playing the Hollywood Bowl tonight. We're on tour, baby.
I'm just imagining a Vampire Campfire head who refreshes their podcast feed
Every day.
day for the last 2+ months.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, episode 4 dropping in the feed. That's got to feel good.
It's also crazy because we got quite a few cheers on The Daily Show. The host shouted out Vampire Campfire, and there were some real fans in the audience. We got a big woo.
I mean, here.
Okay, all right.
Literally, the whole reason you're rock stars is so you don't have to do a podcast.
We could have used that momentum to follow up with a banger episode, but it's not about that.
You know, it's like 5 years between albums.
That's right.
You know, 2 months between podcast episodes. You know, similar
That's right.
ideas. Similar
And
ideas.
absolutely.
You got to live your life to have something to speak about.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And now we really have a lot to speak about. So in some ways, this is the album release episode.
I said I had some podcast spin-off ideas. What do you think we should do?
All right, well, let's start with the podcast spin-off ideas.
Okay, because I've been
is what
sitting
people
on
are
this.
Because now that we dropped a 4th episode, we're ready to build an empire.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that we have these plans. We want to have a full-blown media company.
Mm-hmm.
So if step 10 is a media company and step 1 is a single podcast, what is step 2?
Right.
More podcasts.
More podcasts, yeah.
You know, Bravo by Bayo will find its footing at some point. You know, we'll figure it out. The second one is called CT's Town, which is a
based
recap.
on the
yes,
CT, the
yes,
original CT.
That is a recap podcast.
When we were in college, we were all huge fans of CT, who was a guy, started on Real World and then became a Real World Road Rules
Challenge
icon.
yeah.
Chris Tamborello, we should say.
Chris Tamborello. So then at some point, I started calling Chris CT, but it really stuck. All due respect to Mr. Tamborello, it's actually now more random when I'm like, oh, right, he's CT too, even though, to be fair, he popularized the nickname.
Yeah, so CT's Town is a recap podcast where Chris CT Thompson watches episodes of Chris CT Tamborello's TV show, CT's Town, and recaps them.
It got me back down an old CT rabbit hole where I was checking out some of his greatest W's. There's the
backpack.
The backpack.
When he bodies Johnny Bananas.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's a very strong guy. And they used to just show that on TV nonstop.
You know, get the CTs together.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
FCT.
Kid from rural Jersey, kid from working class Boston.
It always starts with you
know?
guys doing the backpack challenge. Every episode, see who wins the backpack challenge. Yeah, and also as we've discussed.
Or no, it's a great debate that we probably don't. That then we'd argue for 30 to
Right.
45 minutes, and then at the end is the backpack challenge, and then whoever wins
is the
winner.
CT of the day.
CT of the day, the winner of the debate.
Should the U.S. have ever gotten off the gold standard, CT? All right, this one's going to backpacks. And then also, as discussed on Vampire Campfire, you're a Road Rules fan.
Certified.
Oh, now I'm getting into TV ideas, but there's like a kind of.
Well, it's the media company.
It's a media
That's
company.
phase 3 or
we
phase
pitched
4?
kind of like an indie rock Road Rules.
That would be amazing.
Oh, easy.
Only requirements: you have to be 40 plus and have a connection to indie music.
My last one, which is your podcast, is called Vampire Campfire, where CT and I get to go home and you stay an extra hour and recap the
And
latest
I do the
episode.
recap?
Yeah, you recap the last episode
Well,
of
then
Vampire
I
Campfire.
do it with Chris Tamborello and
Get Harrison.
or I get
Yeah,
Harrison Bader. And if there's any other bands out there, now that you know that we have a thriving podcast network and media company, don't go to who are the big podcasts?
Earwolf?
Don't go to Earwolf. Don't go to Meow Wolf.
Don't go to Club Random
Don't go to Club Random Productions. Come to Vampire Weekend. We'll take care of you, and we'll help present it. We'll help get it off the ground. We got the technical know-how. We couldn't be outside today because we're on the tour bus. We got an indoor campfire. So we're problem solvers. We'll figure it out. So anybody, come to Passion Pit, come to us. We'll get it going.
Passion Pit talking shit.
Yeah, Passion Pit talking shit.
That would be a great podcast.
Yeah, just the.
The name should rhyme, kind of to keep a theme, but
Oh
it
yeah,
doesn't
that's
have to.
non-negotiable. That's the one thing we'll put our foot. You have creative freedom, but your name has to rhyme.
If you have ideas for spin-off podcasts, please.
Submit.
We have an address here above my hand where you could send us some mail that we've been reading.
Oh yeah. Please continue to do that. We're here in LA playing the Hollywood Bowl tonight. Been on the bus. It's kind of been like our first week of what we call real touring. I imagine you guys also have conversations with people in your life. Say, what are you up to? And I'll be like, oh, well, the tour really just started in Houston last week. And people go, what? I've been seeing you everywhere. And I'll be like, well, come on. There's touring and then there's touring. And, truly for us, we've festivals and kind of special one-offs is not the same as landing and beginning our tour in Houston, Texas with our production, with our, headline slots, all that stuff. So in some ways, the real tour has only just begun.
You can play shows that aren't necessarily a part of like the Capital T tour, and also you can also travel and play shows that's not part of the tour. There's something about a very intentional rehearsals, which we did plenty of.
Yes.
And to get the show and the beats and the songs all worked out like kind of just how we want it. And with these shows and this tour we're on now, we have our full headline, The Time, where we can experiment, we can go deeper. And there's something also about flying to a city, getting on a bus, and then playing multiple shows in a row. That to me feels like tour.
I've been saying also kind of similarly to the people in my life, I'm like looking forward to getting on tour, and people are like, wait, aren't you on tour? But I tend to find all the one-offs, which is, when you just play one show and go home and you fly, play once, get on a plane again. That stuff is a little bit more like tiring for me. And I've been like, I can't wait to get into the ritual of getting up in the morning, knowing what I need to do, knowing we have a nice long sound check to figure out what we're going to do that night, and then playing that evening show. I've been really since, I don't know, really the beginning of the year looking forward to it, because that's when it's sort of like you reach a new form of normalcy, and I've been enjoying it.
That's proper touring.
This is the end of week 1 of proper tour, so that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So, we can do a quick run through shout out to Houston, Dallas,
Phoenix,
San
Diego. It has been a great start to the tour. I thought it was Wednesday night. It turned out it was Thursday night. I gave the crowd a lot of love. I was like, I can't believe the energy y'all bringing on a Wednesday night. Then CT told me it was Thursday. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty appropriate for a Thursday night. That was a great kickoff. And then in Dallas, that was probably our biggest show ever in Texas. That was the first Cocaine Cowboys.
Oh yeah, in Texas. Or second in Texas, I guess first of the
Second
tour.
in Texas, but I would also say that's the first. In a way, that was the first true
fully formed,
Cocaine
full
Cowboys.
version of the idea.
Well,
where someone from the crowd comes up and there's
Yes, and also what we did. The very first performance of Cocaine Cowboys was in Austin, Texas, and for anybody who's listening to Vampire Campfire and doesn't know what Cocaine Cowboys is, it's a unique medley, a high energy country shuffle built around Married in a Gold Rush from Father of the Bride, but full of lots of twists and turns, a real kind of showbiz, high energy country medley. And we debuted it in Austin, Texas, but that was still a little bit in the R&D phase.
Oh, definitely.
So we had, we didn't know we knew there was going to be some kind of game element, but we said, all right, should it be cornhole? We tried it.
The game's called Gold Rush, not Cornhole.
Yeah, exactly.
proprietary.
It's a proprietary game that we developed called Gold Rush. So we tried it there. Then we thought, okay, what does this game need? Does it maybe because there's something Cocaine Cowboys has a little bit of glitz and glamour, a little bit of old school showbiz. We said maybe it needs more kind of celebrities. So then at Coachella, where we had a surprise set, which we'll get more into, we brought out Paris Hilton and Abraham Lincoln, and shout out to them. Are we gonna be able to get A-listers like that all around the country at a moment's notice? Probably not. Now we're really on tour, and now it's okay. we put it on the set list for Dallas, and now we really did it up, and we have a Gold Rush board, not a cornhole board, with a comical painting of a prospector. We built out some pretty like high tech lights on it.
It looks so cool when it comes out.
Now we're really getting prices right. If the person doesn't make their shot, it turns red. The lights can go all kind of wild. Rather than relying on high wattage A-list talent, we decided let's give somebody from the audience a shot to play because they came here, they paid good money, and also let's give them a chance to win some real money.
So far, our two competitors have gone a collective 0 for 6.
Yeah.
In the game of Gold Rush. Should we look into making the Gold Rush hole a little bit larger?
No.
No? No? Okay.
That's the point of games.
Well, and also
games
I
are
wanna,
games
Well,
are meant
this
to be
is
tough.
good to
It's
know.
like
Yeah,
a carnival
yeah.
atmosphere. It's not supposed to be.
And I also want to say, I understand that you got plucked out of the crowd moments before.
You're going to be nervous.
You're gonna be
Adrenaline's
nervous.
flowing. The energy of the crowd is surging.
The energy's
We're at
crazy.
minute 9 of
Yeah.
the,
We have a
of the
12-minute medley. Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably maybe never stood on stage in front of that many people before. This is
In
kind
front of a sold-out Calcoast.
in front of a sold out Cal Coast or Toyota Pavilion.
Yeah.
In Soundcheck, we had our guitar tech Josh Goldsmith attempt, and he got 3 in a row. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe
Right.
this is too easy. But then what? That's during Soundcheck.
That's interesting. I feel like that's gotta play into the Price is Right success or failure of games too. Is like people are nervous.
Oh,
Got the
yeah.
cameras on,
Adrenaline.
the crowd, the adrenaline.
I mean, it's funny because like in tennis, they're so strict. Like the judge is always like
Yep.
yelling at the crowd. I went to a tennis match. Maybe it was that time we went to the Australian Open. I feel like the judge was like getting like annoyed. Like that happens. They're just like, we're not going to do the game if you guys don't shut up. Like the judges can be really intense in tennis. And then it's funny in other sports, you have 20,000 people yelling at you. Your coach is yelling at you. It's like so bewildering. I'm surprised there aren't more people who just like crush in high school and then just like wilt because it's like
I mean, there are those people you
there
probably
are.
just don't know their names because they don't succeed in the high pressure, like
Right, it's this,
Coliseum-esque environment.
Right.
That's what's that called? Survivorship bias. You may have seen this image online before. It's a diagram of a plane with a bunch of red marks to show where bullet holes went in. So, in one of the world wars, the U.S. is sending out a lot of planes to, do bombing missions or whatever. The planes are coming back and they're looking at them and realizing like, oh wow, the wings are all shot up. Oh my God, and the tail's all shot up. And they said, we need to reinforce the wings and the tail because look at all these holes. Then somebody said, wait, hold on a second. We're looking at the planes that came back.
Right.
These planes got their wings and tails shot up, but they still successfully landed back. It's the ones that got shot in the other places that never made it back. Sometimes when you're like looking at an issue or a problem or something, you fixate on what's in front of you, which is the survivors. So you'd be like, yeah, you know what I realized? Like a lot of old people, they have this or that problem. And you're like, right, but you're looking at the people who lived. You're forgetting about all the people who died back in the day. So it's a similar thing. Here I am looking at all these NBA players and be like, it's interesting. None of these guys are great in high school, and then they start playing in front of tens of thousands of people, and they don't have a problem. It's like because it's survivorship bias.
For the fans out there, you should be hiring 4,000 to 6,000 extras playing Gold Rush in your backyard.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to recreate the Vampire Weekend show experience to be at peak performance to win cash
And
prizes.
don't get a cornhole board.
a
We're
Gold
gonna have
Rush
to
board.
sell
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Gold
Gold-
Rush boards.
It's very
Oh
different.
my God! Wait,
Yeah.
I can't believe we're not doing that already. We should try just making like 2.
See if they sell.
See if they sell.
Yeah.
Prototype.
So far, we've been giving out minimum even if people don't sink one. So I'm a little bit nervous about the day that somebody comes in.
Which, by the way,
and
is
just
total
sinks-
anarchy.
And sinks
Explain
3.
the rules of the game.
So you're saying he shouldn't have given out a dime.
I mean, I have no problem with being generous and giving cash prizes, but if you set out the rules of the game, and they don't make 3 and they still get money, like why would anyone try?
Right. Well, they don't know how much money they stand to make, and I'm a little scared to tell them because
It's true.
because the number that I have in my head for somebody who sinks 3 in a row in front of a screaming crowd is, it's diabolical.
Yes.
Our accountant's going to charter a plane from Beverly Hills, fly out to Bonner, Montana, just to throw a fit in front of us if he knew how much money we're thinking about giving out. Yeah, maybe sometimes people just got to take the L. Maybe some people should just get a T-shirt.
Which potentially is worth more than
Oh, a
$100
special
cash. A special
t-shirt.
shirt that like
Now we're getting into.
I
some
played
good
Gold
stuff.
Yes.
Rush. I missed the Gold Rush shots or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm taking home some gold.
If it's a one-off thing, we're not selling it. Yeah, in the back is Mike Myers' gold member saying, "I love gold."
In a prospector's hat.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the people who are coming to shows and hoping to make
Win
it out,
big.
win big, what are the official rules of our game Gold Rush?
The player selected from the audience has 3 chances to get a beanbag into a hole. The thing that we haven't fully ironed out is just how much money
What
they
the
can
reward
win.
structure is.
Yeah, if they get all 3 in. Long story short, you get 3 chances to get a beanbag in a hole in the original game we created, Gold Rush.
Look out for the Gold Rush boards at the merch table. Probably starting in the summer. Starting at Red Rocks.
Absolutely. Next leg.
Watch out for the Gold Rush
No,
merch.
we should make at least little Gold Rush ones tonight. It's gonna be our 5th sold out show in a row. Someone sent us a photo of the marquee in front of Hollywood Bowl, and it said sold out. And seeing that is very satisfying.
We don't have to beat around the bush. This tour is crushing it, but the weakest market in North America is Montreal. That said, it's not a dog.
No,
It's
you're
not a
gonna-
bloodbath.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a post-apocalyptic event when you come see us
Even
play.
if
Do you
no,
guys think it is the language barrier?
I do.
I think we resonate more in English speaking countries.
yeah, that's generally been the case. But we have had great shows in Montreal, and the truth
Of
is,
course.
I'll tell you one thing. Whether
Like Casa del
look,
Popolo?
at Casa del Popolo, for instance. And I'll tell you one thing, too. Even if not a single more person buys a ticket between now and September, it's already going to feel real good in the
Oh
room.
yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But look, we can be honest about it. Like, it feels good to have a run of 5 sold-out shows. And you can get fixated on the sold-out portion. But no matter what...
We're going to
this-
give our all no matter
And no
what.
matter what,
Yes.
this will be our biggest show in Montreal
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
of all time. Will some of the fans in the back have a little more room? Maybe. It might not be the Toyota Pavilion. It's funny. If you ask me, again, and this goes so far beyond just like popularity. Sometimes when you get into people, you talk to other artists about tours and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, that city's been tough lately, or oh, that city's really on fire. Like everybody's selling lots of tickets. It's interesting. Maybe it has to do with just the job market. Maybe
Right.
Oh, yeah.
maybe people are feeling more flush. Demographics, people, yeah, all that stuff. But life is so interesting. If you asked me 15 years ago, would we be blowing out the Toyota Pavilion in Dallas as compared to Montreal? But back in the early like New York days, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Montreal seems more like a Vampire Weekend city, but goes to show who knows. And you know what? They're all Vampire Weekend cities. For the people who come through. It's going to be next
We have to
level.
do something.
Are there international gaming laws we need to be aware of to bring Gold Rush across the border or not? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll have to.
We gotta
first of all, we're
research that.
gonna need a lot of Canadian dollars for Gold Rush in Montreal.
Wait, are we planting our flag? We're doing Gold Rush in Montreal?
I was just going through my mind really quick to think about: is there something special we could do for a Montreal show, like covering a Montreal artist or something? But then I remember in French class growing up, we watched some Francophone music videos from the 90s. There's a very strange one that was a huge hit in France that was a little baby named Jordy who rapped about how hard it is to be a baby. You guys ever heard of this?
That sounds amazing.
Dur d'être bébé.
C'est dur être bébé.
The date is April 4th. The 3rd episode of Vampire Campfire drops.
We ended on a cliffhanger.
Now let's go back.
Will the boys
2
release
months
the
and change.
album?
Will the boys release
Okay.
the album
So then-
to April 5th?
Release day April 5th. Thankfully, we actually didn't have anything.
off
Yeah,
on
we were
that
off.
day.
We had nothing. We had nothing to do because our big release day show was on April 8th, the day of the total eclipse, which was a Monday.
Yeah.
So that meant that the days leading up, we had time to kind of gather and get ourselves to Texas.
Right. You were in Texas by the 5th?
I was
can't
in
remember
Texas.
now. Yeah.
I was out in
Camped out in a Buc-ee's.
I was out in the country. I did go to Buc-ee's for the first time on that weekend. I truly was deep in the heart of Texas. That's country. It's in between Houston and Austin. I was out there on a ranch. and I was drinking ranch water. Ranch water is a Texas thing. You're working on the ranch, or maybe you're chilling on the ranch. You drink half a Topo Chico, and then after you drink about half of that Topo Chico, you fill the rest up with tequila, maybe lime and salt. That, you know, it's a matter of taste. But then you're drinking, that's ranch water, and you can get pretty twisted off that. So I was out there. I saw a live armadillo for the first time. That was exciting. Were you guys back in LA?
I was just at home. We booked a meal at a restaurant that we really liked, and the chicken was rubbery that I had. I had a very.
Oh, that's why you didn't name the restaurant. I thought you were
you
shouting it
didn't.
out.
You didn't
Yeah.
know where it was going, but I had a very. My celebratory meal was a little bit of a bummer. So that's what I recall.
My family had a big plan of my kids were going to fly to Austin and see their first Vampire Weekend show. My 2 young kids, and Friday they both got sick. so I was dealing with the kids getting sick. But that's life, you know.
Of course.
The ups, the downs, the good, the bad. It all comes.
Yeah.
It comes when it comes.
It's
you know?
true, brother.
We've been doing this for a while and doing this obviously for a while together. But there is still something that feels really mystical to me, even if the medium is sort of changed, less physical now. It's more streaming, but it's, you know, this thing that to varying degrees we've all put a lot of time in and to thought in, and you know, you were working on songs for years, and a lot of work goes into it. And the day when it comes out, there is still a sort of a feeling of an exhale, of like a satisfaction. It doesn't really matter what the reactions are per se, but it's kind of like it feels good to have it out. There's still definitely a feeling of calmness and like, you know, and connection to you guys. Very
absolutely.
explicitly.
I love that, and I would also say I always love a release day, and you know, you're only going to get so many of them in a life and in a career, and those are like special, and just
And that's why that rubbery chicken really fucked you.
Well, no, that you know, what mattered actually was the importance of putting the record out, and an underwhelming meal at a restaurant I really enjoy.
That rubbery chicken really puts stuff in perspective.
It does. It absolutely does.
On any other day, you would have flipped the table. You would
Yeah,
have just been,
I run hot like that. Yeah, totally.
But
I
on
would have gone
stage,
back and slapped the.
you let
the
it-
chef.
you let
I
it
let it
go.
go. I
You let
did.
it go.
I thought about the lyrics to Hope, and I said, you
That's
know
right.
what? I'm gonna let
gonna
this
let it
go.
go.
We should just say, because this is the first episode of Vampire Campfire since the album has come out. It's just been so nice seeing people connect with the new record and seeing the.
You're really throwing
no,
out the.
no pun
I
intended.
didn't. That was no pun intended. Also,
hoping, you're connected,
That was,
you're
that was,
killing
the
it
hope
right
was,
now.
was on purpose, but actually seeing the response we've gotten has been really lovely and wonderful, and it makes getting out here and playing shows all the better for me.
You know, I could still feel the connection, just notes from people, and just, you know, catching up with the team. It really felt like a good release day, and it was nice that we didn't have anything to do. By Sunday, we're all in Austin, getting ready for the big events on Monday. A lot of fans came out, but then on the more personal side, for our inner circle, I don't think we've ever had a show or an event where we had quite so many people, you know, the extended family and friends. It kind of had a destination wedding feel, where we were suddenly
yes.
realizing, you know, of course, New York or LA, these cities that we know a lot of people and we live in, and of course, those are special and you get a lot of people. But this was interesting because we were in Texas and you get people coming from all over the place and kind of linking up. And I guess it had that kind of wedding feel because you had just like different friends of ours who you're kind of like, wait, you guys never met before? Oh, that's crazy. Oh, and it was my birthday.
Your birthday.
But I didn't really consider my birthday until we rocked the crowd. Then I started sipping on that ranch water again. So Monday morning, we head over to the Moody Amphitheater, twisted off that ranch water. Over on the weekend out in Weimar, I got a series of calls, one of which was, do you want to do a surprise Coachella thing? And I remember at the time being like, whoa, that's pretty far out.
Yeah, and then you
but-
texted me and CT and said, "Hey, I don't know if we got booked for
Stagecoach
Coachella or Stagecoach."
Right.
The show in
Can you
India
fellas, can
at
you
the
make
Indio
it?
Polo Grounds.
Fellas.
Can you make the show, fellas?
Sorry, I'm really twisted right
and
now.
I said, just make sure that Cocaine Cowboys is on the set list.
Yeah.
And we're good either way.
Either way, we'll win. But then another call was, hey, just so you know, the weatherman and the weatherwoman are predicting rain and thunder on Monday. right during showtime, and
You hate to get that call.
yeah, and you can't fuck around with
Thunder and
thunder and lightning.
Lightning, you can't.
That's just a no go, and and for any fans listening, if you ever see somebody cancel some outdoor thing, and then you're like, well, man, that was so lame. It was just a little bit of rain. Trust me, they had somebody in their ear telling them that there could be lightning, and people had been hit by lightning at concerts. There was some talk about maybe we got to call it, maybe we got to move it indoors to the Moody Theater, which is a smaller venue than the Moody Amphitheater. So there was even some talk.
Two Moody's.
Could you guys do 2 shows in the same day? And we tried to re-ticket it, and it was like, whoa. That would have been fun and crazy. We would have made the best of it, but thankfully that did not come to pass. There was just enough of a question mark on the weather that said, like, let's go for it. And then day of, it turned out not to rain at all. But the one thing that was a smaller bummer was that it was very overcast. And when things are very overcast during an eclipse, you might not be able to see anything. If you're obsessed with eclipses, you're not coming to the Vampire Weekend show.
Totally.
But still, people were excited for it, and
Of course,
and so were we. So we're kind of like, it's a little bit overcast. All right, worst case scenario, we just don't see the eclipse. The fans don't see the eclipse, and we still got together and had a great show. But so that was kind of looming Monday morning during soundcheck.
It was nice to finally play a full show. We worked long and hard on that set list. Gotta give shout outs to our special guests, Mr. Toma Mars from Phoenix, Dave One from Chromeo, and of course Brian Robert Jones
Yep.
soloing on Harmony Hall. I don't know, how did you guys feel about the show in general?
Emotionally, maybe for me, the eclipse gave me some cover, where
Yeah.
as opposed to feeling like, oh, first show, a lot of debuts, and kind of feeling like a little bit tighter than normal or something. It was like, this is such an event anyways, and we've put a lot of practice in. I feel prepared, but there was something where it felt like it was bigger than us. So kind of for me anyways was like, we're just playing these songs, we'll see how it goes, but the sort of the good time was almost guaranteed in a way.
Yeah.
That made the first show jitters a little easier for me. I don't remember any major clams.
For people that don't know, clams is a fuck up or a screw up. It wasn't a clam bake in Austin.
Yeah, clams belong in a chowder or on a pizza in Connecticut. They don't
Not on
belong
a
at a show.
stage.
Great vibe, some major firsts, a lot of live debuts of songs, and then the center of the show was we played our newer version of Flower Moon, which some people described as evil, but they loved it. And actually, the timing was perfect because it was starting to get dark. I heard from people in the crowd that was a particularly intense moment. Like you could feel something was changing. They could sense even that the bugs were acting different. I don't know if that's right when the bats started flying. They're waiting for the signal from nature that it's nighttime, and they can sense it. They're like, oh, it's cooling off, all this stuff. It's getting a little bit darker. So that evil flower moon was, perfectly timed. That was your call, Bale. Great call.
Thank you.
And then we left stage during the eclipse, and the audience is staring up. We're staring up in the parking lot. And again, it was cloudy. And everybody's looking, are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? And we knew it was getting so dark that we knew it was happening, but we couldn't quite see it. And then at the perfect moment, the clouds part, and you see the moon fully in front of the sun with that little ring of fire around it. And it was so dark and intense. The audience is going nuts. We could hear
They were
them.
howling. It
They
was
were howling.
awesome.
Really emotional moment. And then we came back on stage, live debut of Hope, finished out the set. It was perfect.
Then it was a birthday party.
Birthday
Then
party?
the
Then-
ranch water gets...
Started flowing.
Then the ranch water started flowing, and then we hung out a little bit. Had a wonderful birthday. It was great having everybody together. Very memorable. Great group of people. We're in Texas, so it was a barbecue.
CT and I toasted you.
Yes, I
had
really
some
appreciated your speeches. See, that really did start to feel like a wedding.
Destination wedding.
Well, yeah, we should shout out our management, Monotone, because they had to do so much work in the lead up to the show and then basically planned a wedding on top of the show.
You guys giving speeches. Rashida gave a speech too. It was really whoa, everything's coming together. I never would have organized something that big if it wasn't because of the album. So it was kind of perfect. It was such a great, everything fed off each other. So it got to be a birthday album release thing and got to be probably bigger than either event would have been otherwise, because it's just like all these reasons on top of each other to get everybody together. Felt special.
And from there, early lobby call, head to the Big Apple.
Oh yeah.
That's when it got intense.
Yeah.
yes.
Because really, really beautiful day, but then real early wake up Monday. Did a signing, met a lot of nice fans. I definitely felt a little bit out of it, very tired that day. Always nice to be back in the city.
Yeah.
Wednesday, straight to the Daily Show.
Daily Show, and we had Dev, Blood Orange join us.
On sitar.
Ariel absolutely crushed
An amazing
that
choir.
performance and the mix.
He was live mixing stuff and throwing some extra effects on. And
He did
choir.
amazing. I was really thrilled with how that performance came out. I played upright bass for the first time on TV.
Yeah, well
that
done.
was fun. I enjoyed that. The daytime of that day was basically centered around that performance, and
And we got couch time.
I was so nervous beforehand, and then when we got out, I was not nervous anymore. Costa did a great job interviewing us.
So this whole week, release week, required some it was like a military operation. Really required precision timing. So just about as soon as we were done with everything we had to do at the Daily Show, the plan was to head up to Portchester to join Goose for the Capitol Theater. But of course, the boys got to eat. So we had to figure out, all right, where can we stop on the way? And, for anybody who's not familiar with New York geography, you kind of have to go uptown through Manhattan to get up to, and go through the Bronx to get to Westchester and the town of Portchester. So we're heading uptown.
We had many early band meals at a very special restaurant by Columbia called Taqueria y Fonda. And that place even has a shout out in the song California English Part 2. But that morning I was like, what would be great? We have to get from kind of like weird, not quite Midtown New York all the way up to Westchester. What if we just went to an old haunt and had like a nice and broke bread? And, because it's a special week for us. And so we went to Taqueria Fonda. Again, our management made sure that everything ran on time and that the food was basically waiting for us when we got there. And
The cheese is still good.
the food is amazing there, and it was a real sort of like moment of calm in what was a very crazy week.
We walked around Columbia a little bit, jumped in the van, made it up to the Cap Theater just as Goose was about to start their show.
Goose is a sort of band friends of ours. We've collaborated from afar before.
Oh yeah, with
And
their,
this is the first
their
time we
legendary
managed
2021.
to, get in the same room and break musical bread together.
That's right. We want to do something from the new album, so we did Gen X Cops, and then, there's been a long running kind of meme about seeing how far we could take Cape Cod Kwassa Kwassa, the 8-minute Cape Cod. You may have seen it on a shirt here and there. So we thought, maybe we'll try to do an 8-minute Cape Cod. And so we kind of threw that out there, and they were kind of like, no doubt. And we're like, all right, it's always nice to have a sound check just to be like, all right, we know more or less where things are heading. That was not the case here.
Yeah.
So we get on stage, do a quick little Gen X Cops, then go into Cape Cod. The Goose Boys, they took it so far past 8 minutes.
They were amazing.
Well, I have a theory. It was kind in multiple definitions. But I think they were kind of like, all right, you're on our turf.
Right.
You want to jam? Let's jam.
It was.
I think,
it was,
I think it wasn't like, oh, cool, yeah, we'll just like stretch out the middle chord part
Right.
and we'll
Yeah.
wrap it up. I don't know if they're like, we're going to take this to 30 minutes, but I do feel like they kind of had some thought of like, all right, guys, let's do it. Like, we're going to take it on a journey.
Yeah.
And the phrase that I believe Rick said, which this is why it makes me think it was a little premeditated, is like, and if it goes out in the woods, we'll just figure out how to get back.
we had sort of discussed a musical cue to wrap things up. And when you listen back, I
Hit
started
the cue a
doing the
couple times.
musical cue at about 10 minutes because I knew we were past
Right.
8 minutes. And the other fellows were having none of it. They
Right.
said, we're not even going to, we're not going to acknowledge.
Fuck you.
Yeah, they said, we're not even going to acknowledge what this man is doing. And so
We're not going back to the
we're not
the
doing
campsite.
We're
for
not
a
going
while.
back to the
We're going
campsite
deeper
for
into
a
the
while,
woods.
and it was interesting experience for me because I had to kind of like make my peace with it, and then went off into a weird and wonderful direction.
You know what the trick is?
What?
To surrender to the flow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I had to surrender to the flow over the course of that. That's the first time that's ever happened to me musically.
Funny, just imagine you just getting on the mic and be like, guys, what are you doing?
That was the cue.
Guys!
That was the cue.
Wait, stop. Guy, why is it
Goose,
going so
Goose.
long?
Open
This
your
is
ear.
crazy. It's going so long. Yeah, at some point I just kind of like tucked myself into the corner because I was just like I wasn't sure what key it was in.
It switched like
It switched
twice.
multiple
Yeah, they were
times.
following. It was. I loved it. That's also, I should just shout out. That's the venue closest to where I grew up in Bronxville, New York. I'm from Westchester, so it was really fun.
That venue is very storied in terms of jam band heritage because the Dead played there all the time. Jerry played there solo. Phil Lesh, even for Goose to play there, that's the type of thing that in the jam world, right? Like people, there's like, oh, Goose at the Cap.
I think, yeah, and especially you could say at the Cap, like it has.
Yeah.
Not all venues do, but that one has like an aura and like a vibe of its own that is sort of that it brings to every band that plays there.
Yeah, we can say now our one experience at the Cap was the 30-minute Cape Cod with
Yes.
Goose.
My understanding also is that it was very well received.
So what are they calling it?
Many people are.
Many people were
They're
calling
calling
that,
it Little Cypress, and I wasn't like I didn't listen to Fish really growing up. And a shout out to Mike Gordon, who I'm going to meet in a couple days and have the pleasure of watching play bass really well. But they're calling it Little Cypress, and I just I want to
CT,
know
do you wanna-
what
So yeah, what do they mean by Little Cypress?
This is one of your big Fish moments. Was Chris? You watched a documentary or a little bit of something
Yes.
about the Fish's Turn of the Millennium New Year's show. Took place in Florida at Big Cypress, like a nature preserve. So that show's called Big Cypress. And there was a documentary, and Fish fans, especially, well, it's kind of even worse now with like social media, obviously. But even then, like you get a camera in the parking lot, they tend to be pretty hyperbolic,
Right.
And so this gentleman, maybe at like 8 a.m. after the sun came up, was just still processing the 6-hour show. They played from sundown. Or from midnight, sorry, they played from midnight to sunup. What was the quote that you love?
that it was the height of music.
Yes, the height of music.
In all of music history.
So essentially, Little Cypress would be. We're not big. It's not Big Cypress.
We
so
can't-
let's not
we
get
can't
insane,
do
but
that.
it's jam of the year, maybe jam of the half decade. I don't know. It's hard for me to
JOTY.
say that.
Yeah.
But
GOTHD.
and yeah, I think I would love you to keep believing that it's a universally beloved.
I haven't been
Yeah.
looking at
Musical
comments, so
experience.
my understanding is that it was universally beloved.
And anyway, since then, Bayo's been talking about this idea. It's being called Little Cypress, and every time you say that, I always picture like a 1960s news report, like Walter Cronkite or like Mike Douglas, just going, "They're calling it Little Cypress," just like an old school news reporter standing in front of the Capitol. Yeah, on like the Chiron says Port Chester, New York. They're calling it Little Cypress. When it comes to our release week, our release month, it's just got to keep moving.
Absolutely.
Jump in the van, head back to the city, try to get a little bit of shut eye.
we got a fashion shoot the next day.
Oh yeah, we had a fashion
Oh,
shoot
yeah.
the next day, throwing on the fancy clothes.
We did a Spotify.
Oh, yeah, right.
outdoor.
Oh, yeah,
Very
which is
vibey.
just-
I
which is out
enjoyed
now.
that.
Yeah,
you
you
can
can.
watch
That's
that.
yeah. Shout out to Spotify. They have a series called Outside. We did an acoustic prep school gangsters in it's kind of like industrial part of Long Island City
Yeah.
in Queens, where there were like some train tracks and nice view of the city behind us. Back to our hotel for a minute to chill, and then
Just a great cap of the New York section of release week, which was we went to a Ranger game. They took such good care of us. They showed us on the Jumbotron. I got us a big plush baguette in honor of Artemi Panarin, who just had a career season for my beloved Rangers.
The very distinct connection is we were playing 2 shows in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
In October. So
Yes.
all right, and we gave away some tickets
Yes.
at the game.
I think none of us knew this was happening. How did it feel to walk out on the ice?
Getting to walk out onto the ice afterwards and see it all like tore up from people playing hockey on it, and just being at center ice and being able to walk around and just see that view of what it's like to be a hockey player. Because yeah, we played MSG on the last album, which is like my favorite show we've ever played, but it's a different viewpoint to actually be like a gladiator in the arena at center ice.
Okay, so my second question about the Rangers is what moves can the front office make to make sure that the boys get over the hump and bring home the cup next year?
We had such a good season, and we won the President's Trophy. We made it so far. I grow a playoff beard every year. My beard got very, very large. I think we hit like 42 days of playoffs of me not shaving. Maybe make a couple moves at the blue line, a move or two, just because we have to sign some people and there's going to be a lot of free agents. And then we need a right winger. So
Okay.
those will be, but we have the cap space to make some maneuvers. So I'm actually looking forward to this offseason. I
Great.
think we have every opportunity to have a better team day one next year than we did last year, in my opinion.
Then we went out for a late night
Oh, dinner.
Italian supper. Classic back in New York, different schedule. 10:30 res. Had a great hang with a bunch of our favorite New York City characters, breaking bread, and I would say that's kind of the end of release week. Thursday night after the Rangers game, 10:30 res, breaking bread with about 12 of New York's finest.
We should also, I should say, we, as part of a birthday present to you, we got you a gift certificate to this restaurant, but then the gift certificate was not used. So we're going to have to go back to this restaurant.
Shout out to $2 Steve, legendary New Yorker, who covered the meal before we could even reach for our wallets. So that was release week.
That was release week.
Flew back.
And we still have some like release weeky things that came up. Like we could talk
Okay,
about
sorry.
SNL.
So, well, then the last thing we'll say though is then that Saturday, then we had Coachella,
Okay.
and then we did our surprise Coachella thing. We brought out Paris Hilton, Abraham Lincoln.
President Lincoln here. Vampire Weekend performed. Only God is above us. Now available in stores. Go get them, folks, and vote for me. Yeah.
Looking back, I think we could all say one of the most interesting, maybe random, but fun weeks ever when you think release an album, Eclipse show, Rangers game,
Little
Daily
Cypress.
show, Little Cypress, 10:30 res at supper, Paris Hilton and Abraham Lincoln playing cornhole at Coachella. That was all within the space of 9 days. That about wraps up release week. We'll continue in episode 5 of Vampire Campfire, digging further into release month, the full,
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
full 5
Oh,
week
yeah. Full
month.
breakdown.
As always, we're ending with some.
Are we calling this mailbag? What are we calling this?
Send us mail.
Okay, this one is a longtime fan. It's like to see you guys in Chicago. Okay, this actually relates to early tour days, if we want to get into this. We want to know how you guys decide which songs to cover throughout the tour. Would you consider ever covering a Talking Heads song? Maybe on July 27th. Question for Bayo. If you were on a Real Housewives show, what would your tagline be? Cheers, Hannah and Madison. Thanks for sending.
All right, let's start with that. What would your tagline be on a Real Housewives show?
You know, I've thought about this. Just because my instrument is in the low end doesn't mean I'm low rent.
Oh, that's good.
I've thought about this. It could be a little snappier, but I've thought about this.
Oh, maybe one day for a special show, we shoot like a full intro. In terms of covering Talking Heads, I do think it's tricky.
Well, we covered Talking Heads a couple days ago.
Oh yeah,
That's what I thought.
that was not our. Yeah, that was not our finest moment. But again, we've been taking requests at most shows at the end, and just literally trying just from scratch say, "What do you want to hear?" Okay, let's try it. One day, a sunflower into burning down the house could make a lot of sense because it's like a similar chord progression.
Personally, I would love to hear you sing "And She Was" for what it's worth.
Oh yeah, that's a great song. There's exactly one song that's been performed by 2 live music legends, Talking Heads and Grateful Dead. You know what song that is?
I don't.
Take Me to the River.
Oh.
In like the late 80s, the Dead did Take Me to the River like 5 times. Kind of in like the maybe late 80s, early 90s. So we could pay tribute to 2 titans of live music with that. How would Take Me to the River hit? We'll see.
Okay, this is a note from Zachary in Jokerman font. Dear Vampire. Okay, nice. I'm like 10 years younger, so I have really grown up on your music, and I'm actually your #1 fan. So I appreciate this opportunity to send fan mail. I know a lot of people probably think they're your #1 fan, but I actually am. Okay, I love that.
Wow.
I'm currently living in Boston because of the early vampire aesthetics. Wow. We inspired his geographics. And he got a bachelor's degree in English literature because of you.
Okay.
I listened to the new album for the first time as God intended. I cleared my schedule, cleansed my body, etc. I laid down on my bed with my eyes closed. I know I sound insane. Not really. But let me tell you, Capricorn felt like it was written for me. I really connected with the lyrics. Oh, interesting. This is sort of a bigger time frame than I think is in the song. But I really connected with the lyrics, especially as someone born in January 95 at
Whoa.
the end of the 20th century, the cusp of the new millennium. Just barely alive at the same time as Jerry. Good
Right.
point. Good point. My only
7
question
months.
is, how does it feel knowing you just recorded the greatest album of all time?
Whoa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
I mean, but you are a number one fan.
That's very sweet,
honestly,
thank
and
you.
you never know with a number one fan. Number one fan, they might even.
It could also be the most exacting.
They could
as
be the
well.
most
Yeah.
exacting. You got to earn your little cypresses, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
From them. They might be like, well, hold on, So actually, that means a lot, Zach. I've said this in so many words before, but when somebody who's been riding with the Dubs for a while connects with the new material because it says something to them or feels like it relates somehow to where they're at in their life now or where they've been, that's as good as it gets because, we're all on this journey together. So we really appreciate that, Zach.
And it looks like we have been invited to a couple of weddings.
Multiple weddings.
Megan and Matt in January of next year.
Congratulations,
Just reaching
Megan
out
and
to
Matt.
let you know how important Vampire has been in Megan and I's relationship over the years. One of our first dates was at the 2018 VW Lollapalooza after show at the Metro. Great show.
Oh, yeah.
In Chicago, and the rest is history. Thanks again for being the soundtrack to our lives. Congratulations. Megan and Matt.
Congratulations.
This looks like the other wedding one.
We got invited to 2 weddings?
Oh, wait, no. This already happened. We
Oh.
missed this.
We
Sorry.
missed a wedding.
I'm
Sorry.
so sorry we didn't RSVP. Would love you guys to make an appearance at the wedding. To Allison and Michael, very sorry.
Yeah.
This is just crossing my desk now.
But look, you guys have heard about we just broke down release week for you. You see how the schedule gets crazy. So you got to understand.
I'm missing 2 weddings this year.
Yeah, right,
because of
right.
tour. I'm bummed about it.
So imagine if those people heard you were going to strangers' weddings, that you wouldn't
Oh
hear
my
the end of
God.
it. This is interesting. Getting stuff. We're getting notes.
Wow.
We're getting postcards.
This is from Ontario, Canada.
Ontario, Canada. I'll read let's see. Hi. Big fan. I don't know if you remember, but I was at the Rochester, New York show during the MVOTC tour, and I threw up some stuff on stage. So embarrassing. I don't remember exactly what that was. Loved your show in Toronto. I love the song Hannah Hunt. I named my daughter Hannah.
Oh,
That's very
big.
sweet.
Anyway, I feel like that guy in that Eminem song, Writing into the Abyss. I just want to express how excited I am about the new album. I guess it's before. I love all the godly themes in the VW discography. I want to share a copy of the Holy Quran, since you guys like to sing about God a lot. I suspect we're entering a new age of Islamophobia with the state of the world. Anyway, don't get too spooked. If you do decide to explore, every chapter starts with, in the name of God, the most compassionate, most merciful. I assume as a reminder to the reader, lots of friendship, Mariam, and
A request.
a request
the
for
Toronto show.
Ottoman at a show. And I got to say, I really appreciate it. At a Columbia where we went, it feels like such a long time ago. Every once in a while, I talk to somebody who just graduated high school and they're like about to go to college. Like, what was college like for you? And I was like, man, I don't remember. But then I slowly started to think. One of the best things about Columbia is you do these classes where you read some of the most important books of, global philosophy and literature. So we read a little bit of the Bible, a little bit of the Quran. I've never read the whole thing, but I've always been very interested in the holy books, and I've always had the feeling, something I really believe, that every religious tradition, every mystical tradition, all the Abrahamic faiths, and beyond, I really think it's all pointing at the same thing. It's getting to the nature of reality, what some people call God, what some people just call reality. And I really appreciate this. And I've always wanted to kind of go back and go do a deeper read on both the Old and New Testament of the Bible and the Quran. So I really appreciate that, Mariam.
And we'll finish off with one more, which I was digging deep in the Instagram. So Adam Pally asks what our favorite Adam Pally project is. A lot to choose from. He gets it. But which one of Adam's huge catalog of comedic cinema and TV does the band put on to grab some laughs together? First time, long time. He'll get off and let us answer on air. Thanks.
I loved Happy Endings. My wife and I watched every episode of that, so that's my easy answer.
Adam Pally had some like classic cameos.
Mm-hmm.
On Kroll Show?
Maybe. I
I'm
don't
picturing
know.
like an Adam Pally cameo.
So just say Adam Pally on Kroll Show.
Adam Pally on Kroll Show. And if that didn't happen, it should.
Let's get some reshoot money.
First, let's bring back Kroll Show and get Adam Pally on. Why not?
Mine, I actually have a very distinct memory. It was a snowstorm in New York, and I don't remember the circumstances obviously, but he guest hosted a late night show, and there was like a
Oh.
blizzard, so no guests could come, or something. So it was just him and another comedian guy who's like a sidekick dude. And he was
Just
just
riffing?
truly just like riffing and bullshitting.
Yeah.
From I don't know why I was watching. It was like the 12:30 to 1:30 slot, and it was so funny.
That
and
was
it,
his Little Cypress.
and that was his Little Cypress. And he finishes off like the sidekick guy throws a pencil and he catches it and says "Good night, America." It was very.
That's awesome.
It's really stuck with me. IG, we got the address here again.
Please.
The campfire's back, boys.
Campfire is back,
Oh,
and
yeah.
again, please send us postcards, holy books, wedding invites. Why not?
Self-promotional questions.
Yeah.
They're all welcome.
Yeah.
They're all welcome.
We appreciate it. Okay, looking forward to episode 5.
All right, I'll take care of the fire.
See you guys.